Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. My guest today is Deepti Mahajan. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I hope I did. Okay, good. Deepti is the director of a project called Chingari that she's going to speak to us about in more detail today. It is a project to bring awareness to young girls in Pakistan, specifically Hindu girls in Pakistan, who are daily abducted, tortured, raped, forced into marriage, forced to become Muslim. So Deepti is going to speak to us all about this absolutely insane violence against girls and women. And she's going to tell us a bit about what we can do to support her in her work and to support these girls. Deepti, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Just wanted to make sure you can hear me okay, right?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
I am so thankful for you to give me this platform because this issue is very close to my heart. It is very close to a lot of people's heart. And like you rightfully said, that something horrific is going on, and definitely we need to talk about it, make more people around the globe aware of this issue. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that issues involving girls and women are very close to my heart, especially when they are being persecuted by Muslims, Islamic extremists. That's exactly the kind of girls that get my attention, get my empathy, because of course I relate so much to what they're going through. But before we start talking about those girls, I just want to talk a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about you, how, like, where you grew up? What are some childhood experiences possibly that contributed to you becoming such a fierce advocate for vulnerable girls?
Yes, so a little bit about myself. I grew up in India, in northern part of India, and when when people ask me how you feel for these girls, I go back and think about it. I actually had a very fortunate upbringing. I have been brought up by my parents to be a very strong and bold person, because there was no kind of limitations. Like, I was never brought up with any limitations whatsoever. Whatever my brothers and cousins and everybody could do, I could do more. And whether it's education, sports, or so, when I used to hear these things about girls getting, tortured even in India, and the rapes, and that would just make me think, like, how in this time and era we have this going on. And then I grew up, I was a lot into reading, so I grew up reading a lot of varied books. So I read Taslima Nasreen, and I read a lot of autobiographies of these strong women. But at the same time, hearing these atrocities that, especially uh, in the Islamic world, like what is happening even to the Muslim girls, that I think had a big impact on me, because what is happening in the within the families, like the kind of stories that I read, it was unacceptable at every front. And I grew up in an area where we had mixed, it was a cosmopolitan area, but still it had strong Mughal, because we did have a lot of Mughal influence around us. There is that Mughal background as well. And every every time we uh, pass through certain areas, we as women had to be more careful, right? So those kind of things made a lot of impact on while I was growing up. But like, here I am having this fortunate life, and having an opportunity to do anything and be whatever I want. And here there are girls who have a totally different experience.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. I'm glad that it was just purely empathy and care for other girls and recognizing the difference between your life and their life, because quite often when people are brought up in that kind of privilege, they just turn a blind eye to those who aren't as lucky as they are. So I commend you for that. So tell us now a little bit about Chingari. I want to start with, like, what is the ethos of the project? What does the organization do specifically? How does it help these girls? What do you do for them?
So that is kind of an unfortunate thing, is that directly we have not been able to help out a lot of these girls yet. I work in the background with different organizations who work on having these people either get out of Pakistan, get a refugee status. So those are the things that we work on behind the scenes. Primarily, Chingari it stands for Coalition for Hindu Girls Abducted and Their Rights. And this project started about 5 years ago. I would say right before COVID. That is when, all these different studies and all these different information started coming out, where the thought of having these girls being persecuted in a country that they're living in, when those studies and documents started coming out, that's where, I think it hit us as a group. Chingari is part of an organization called Hindu Pact, and we realized that there needs to be a social justice campaign that needs to be aimed at raising awareness about just this issue. It is not just about Hindus. There are all minority girls, Sikh, Christian, Hindu girls that are suffering because of this. So what we do, we came up with our own bylaws, and our direction is, we as minorities living in US, we need the US government, we need the US lawmakers to not only be aware of this, but make it actionable. So we came up with with a dossier with cover letters. We started, the first step was educating the lawmakers. The second step was making it actionable. What kind of action is needed that would make even a dent, like even an iota of impact on the Pakistani government to look at their minorities? And I can give you a lot of historical background. What minorities are going through in Pakistan, this was not part of the Nehru Liaquat Pact that happened during the partition. Um, just the sheer numbers, the minorities were close to 30% plus of population in Pakistan. Today, they have dwindled down to close to 2%.
Mhm.
It's just mind-boggling. Where did this whole population go? Where did
Mhm.
the rest of the 28% disappear? There needs to be an accountability. It's not just about people, it's like what they went through. And what we see, that there are 3 girls on an average daily being kidnapped, and worst thing happening to them, the girls are being taken away from their homes. Can you imagine, somebody comes to your house, take away your child, and you are not able to do anything about it? So that is the kind of awareness that we are trying to raise. So the aim of the campaign is to raise awareness, make it an actionable item, and then I hope that we be able to see some changes happening in that country.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that dwindling minorities, that's a very common story across the Muslim majority world. You'll find the same. Christians and, in Iraq and Jews in Yemen, in Egypt, everybody who isn't a Muslim in these Muslim majority countries dwindles down to just a handful of people, less than even a percentage. So that's something that happens commonly across the Muslim majority world. But let's talk specifically about these girls. And you're talking about, can you imagine people getting just snatched out of their homes? That's what I want to talk to you about. Like, let's bring awareness to this. Let's talk about this. How is this possible? How does this happen? You know, and how are there no law enforcement, you know, to protect these girls or to punish these men? How is it so common that you can have up to 3 girls per day? I mean, that's an absolutely insane number.
Thank you, Yasmin. And so just the previous part of dwindling population, right? And I'll come back to this. I call it a womb jihad. It's you are taking away the girls, the entity that is the progeny, right? How would you procreate if you don't have the girls? I think that is the mindset, or that is the whole the background of this whole thing, right? Take away the girls. You rape them, marry them, or just take them away. That is what I feel like is the primary reason of that dwindling of the population. Where how would you procreate if you don't have girls and women in the community? Now, coming back to your question, what we have identified is that this is institutionalized because the lawmakers in Pakistan, the general public in Pakistan, they justify it saying that this is an Islamic country, everybody needs to be converted. This is our, what do you call it? It's sunnah for us that, this is the good part of being a Muslim is convert as many people as you can. In the local areas, the girls are identified by the local clerics and local influential people, or whoever is a higher strata. They know that this family, this Hindu family, this Christian family, this Sikh family, they have a girl who's growing up, and they have identified them as soon as they get 9, 10, 11, and they see that they are in that age doesn't matter to them. We have seen girls from right from the age of 9 getting kidnapped and raped. So the local clerics, it's institutionalized that they identify these girls, and they know as soon as they reach that age they need to be taken away.
So they're not
And
even grooming the girls. They're literally just
no,
going and kidnapping them on their way to school or whatever. They're just kidnapping them from the streets, from their homes.
absolutely. Three sisters, like a couple of months ago, three sisters were just coming back from a coaching institute. They were just taken by a car in the middle of in the broad daylight. The girls, like, they are,
Wow.
you talk about human trafficking. Human trafficking is like you take away the child, you never see them again. Here, the family knows the girl is right next door, or she is like 50 miles away or 20 miles away. They have no right to see their own daughter because it's blasphemy. So the process is that you take away the girl in a matter of a night or two. You convert the girl, you have the marriage certificate, you have the conversion certificate, and if they are underage, obviously most of them are underage, and that's the whole issue. Like, imagining 9, 10, 11, 12 years old girls, that's the age of our kids. They don't know what conversion is, they don't know what religion is, they don't know what marriage is or what rape is. You are taking them away and producing a marriage certificate, producing an age certificate. And because it's a underdeveloped country, these things are pretty common, that you are able to do that. And by law, they are even the local clerics or whoever is the person converting, it is acceptable. Those conversion certificates are acceptable to the law. And once they
Wow.
have produced the marriage certificate, they have produced the right age certificate, even if the girl is 12, they say that she's 16, and the conversion certificate. Then it becomes a blasphemy for the family to even contact their daughter, because then they are saying that now the family is trying to convert her back, which is against Islam.
This is
So it's like it's an
absolutely
institution.
insane. Yeah.
It's an institutionalized effort, and that is the biggest problem. There is no law. There's, in countries like US, Canada, or India, or anywhere, there is a law. You can go and file an FIR.
Hmm.
Families go file an FIR, they don't get filed. You cannot even get the police to do anything about this. There are 3 months, 4 months go by before they even consider or write an FIR. By that time, the girl is married, I don't know, gang raped or taken away. I can talk about so many cases here where, it's just mind blowing.
So if you are one of these families, I think it's important to note that usually Christian families, I know for sure in Pakistan, are usually they are only given menial jobs. So they can work as janitors or something like that, cleaning out the sewage system, but they can't ever get anywhere in life in that country. So because of that, they are people without power. So even if they were to walk into the police station, you've got the Islamic clerics that they're up against in an Islamic country. And then you have this Christian man who doesn't have, $2 to his name. So they're not going to respect him. They're not going to care about him. They're not going to care about his daughter. They're not going to give him the time of day. They would rather, kowtow to whatever the cleric wants because that's where the power is. Now, is it same for the Hindu families in Pakistan? Are they also powerless?
That's exactly right, Yasmin. So, according to my understanding, Christians and some other minorities are primarily in the Punjab area of Pakistan, and a lot of Hindus are on the in the Sindh side of Pakistan. Like you just rightfully said, they are never allowed to grow in the society. So the Hindu people I know is they are working as the in the lands, and there are so the Muslim or Islamic landlords, and they have lands, and the Hindus are working in those lands, or they have small little means of making life, and they are under a lot of debt most of the time. These are the poorest of the poor of
Hmm.
Pakistan. There's no representation in the politics or lawmaking at all.
Hmm. Now, I'm going to ask you something that's probably controversial, but it's how I'm feeling right now. When I was doing my research, I came upon some Sikh families that this was happening to their daughters. So they took on, the government wasn't going to help them, law enforcement wasn't going to help them, nobody was going to help them. So they took the law into their own hands and they went and just vigilante justice, right? They had to go and to get their girls back. They ended up being the criminals, and they ended up being the ones that were jailed because they were trying to go and protect their daughters. Um, but it did cause the Muslim community to lay off the Sikh girls for a little bit, It didn't, of course, stop them completely, but they pick on the Hindu girls and the Christian girls more because they feel like it's an easier, there's going to be less pushback for them. So I know that Hindu people really believe in peace and everything, but like, is there have you heard of stories or situations? Because I can just imagine, like my husband, if somebody ripped our daughter from our home or from school or from snatched her off the streets, I wouldn't even be able to stop him, you know? He would go and do what needed to be done to get our daughter back. Are there, but then of course he's the one who would end up in prison, because in a country like that, they're not, they don't understand, they're not looking at what's fair and what's just. They're looking at what's Islamic and what's not. So have you heard of stories like that? Have there been situations like that? Is there a push for that kind of response or something like that?
So I have read and I have watched testimonies where, the brothers are trying to fight for the girl, but it just goes back to the sheer numbers, right?
Mm,
If you even go to the court to fight, you are 50 and the other side is 1,500. They
yeah.
show up even in the courts. I'm talking about the Court of Justice. They show up with arms. They are showing up with ammunitions. So you are 50, they are 1,500 or 2,000 from the boys or the oppressor side. What do you do?
God.
And you are the poorest of poor. You already have, like, the girls are already pressurized that your family will be killed, you will kill your brother. And it has happened there.
Mm.
Torture the family so that the girl is already pressurized. And she says that, yes, I have converted by my own will. And once
Mhm.
that own will is there, you cannot do anything. Conversion by own will is the basics of that whole idea that now you cannot change her back. Now she's a Muslim. So that
Wow.
fear, that oppression, that what the like I said, the numbers, how do you fight back? And when
So,
you don't have a means of sustenance, you are day
yeah,
laborers, you are surviving
right.
on every day, like you're earning what, $1, $2 a day to make your family survive. What do you do?
I mean, it's just so hopeless. And when you're appealing to the American lawmakers that you were speaking about, that you appeal, you'd have a, lobbying to the American government to do something about this, to care about this topic, are you finding that there is a lot of resistance? I'm reminded of the young girls in Rotherham and how these Pakistani rape gangs are doing not almost, they're doing the exact same thing in Britain, you know, and it took so long for those girls to get any kind of attention. And same thing, they went for the vulnerable girls. They go for the poor girls. They go for the girls from, that are in foster care. And the same thing where they convince them that, this is where they want to be. And so even when their families try to come and get them, they're like, no, this is where I want to be, because they're giving them drugs or whatever the situation may be. But journalists, politicians, lawmakers, all sorts of people tried to raise the alarm about these young girls for so many years, thousands of girls over, decades. And there was such a resistance because they felt this is Islamophobic, because they're Pakistani men that are doing this. So to talk about it makes it Islamophobic. So they were essentially saying, we would rather leave these girls to be raped and gang raped and mutilated rather than people call us bad names. We don't want to be seen as Islamophobic. So we're just going to, basically sacrifice these girls. So when you're going and you're speaking about these girls in Pakistan to the American government, are you feeling that you are getting somewhere, that you're getting their attention, that they are caring about this, or are you feeling that there is some sort of resistance because of this term Islamophobia?
So that's an excellent question, Yasmin. I think we get a lot of empathy. We do when people hear this. most of the time they're like, how? The same question that we ask ourselves, how in the world is this happening? So we get those questions a lot, like in this day and time, is this really happening? So there's a lot of ignorance about things like this happening. People don't know about the grooming gangs in UK, so they would hardly know what is happening to minorities in Pakistan. That is something which is beyond um, people's comprehension right now. So we do get a lot of empathy when they hear about it, but definitely at the government level, at the lawmaking level, what we have found out is that the US government knows about it. They say they are doing something, but if they were doing something, we wouldn't be here. We should have seen some changes in at least last 1 decade or 2 decades. So there is a mixed thing. One, if you talk about Pakistan, that itself becomes political. If you, as a Hindu, talking about Pakistan, it becomes an India-Pakistan issue, which is not, because I am a minority in this country. I am concerned about my similar minorities in other countries that are going. This is not a political issue. This is a humanitarian issue at all levels. Imagining your own girls or daughters or sisters being taken away, they are raped, gang raped, mutilated, their bodies have been found with missing body parts on the borders of Pakistan. They like these these are not grown up women. Anything happening to anyone is bad, but we are talking about children. So when people hear about this, there's a lot of empathy, but it's just not going anywhere.
So what can we do? Like, is there anything that, myself and the listeners, is there anything that we can do to help you raise awareness? Because I completely agree with you. This is not a topic that most people are aware of. In fact, they find it to be so shocking that it's unbelievable. We've heard the term love jihad for a long time, and it almost sounded like a conspiracy theory, like it was just too crazy that this could happen. How could this happen? And the way you described it being institutionalized, I think that's a really important point that, is hard for people who live in free countries to wrap their heads around. But that's how things work in these countries. It isn't. And then, speaking about the Rotherham rape gangs, it was institutionalized there as well because the cops were involved as well. So it's like they can't, they wouldn't be able to sustain this if they weren't getting support from, whether it be Muslim clerics or whether it be lawmakers or, whether it be law enforcement. They have to be getting source or support from all across. And I think that people understanding that and knowing that will really allow them to understand how dire this is, So what can we do? What can we do to help?
So the basics that we can do, or I can request from our listeners today and everybody who you can go and visit our website, chingari.org. The basic is raising awareness, questioning it. If you have in any capacity, if you are involved in your local community, even, your city centers or city councils, just raise this issue. We do have resources that we can provide. We are now, next step is going to small cities, going and reading this out in the city council meetings so that local people become aware. Because to your point, Yasmin, in Rotherham, I'm in touch with Jane Senior, who was the original whistleblower of the whole grooming gang. The entire community failed those girls.
Yeah, absolutely.
1,400, 1,500 girls in your community in small city getting raped and gang raped by immigrants. and you know about it and you don't do anything, you're moving those girls, you know that these people are moving those girls around to be gang raped, and you don't know. So we fail there as a community. If we don't do anything now, we are failing as a community here as well, because there is a set of girls who are suffering through this every single day. They will disappear. They will, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, it's just a number, but they are souls. They are, they're people, they're individuals. So I think my request will be that um uh, reach out to your lawmakers, not as Chingari, just as individuals, as a community, as questions. Why is this happening? This is not
Mhm.
human trafficking. This is like a humanitarian crisis at all levels happening in that country because it is institutionalized. Let's ask ourselves questions. Why are we letting this happen to these girls?
Mhm. And why are we just happily supporting Pakistan with billions of dollars instead of making these girls a priority? I'm wondering, Deepti, I'm kind of scared to ask you this question. I'm wondering if you have any stories of hope. Have there been any girls that have been recovered, that have been saved? You know, I'm thinking about the girls from Nigeria, famously Michelle Obama holding the sign that says "Save our girls." Those were Christian girls, same thing. They were kidnapped from school, by Muslim men, and a few of those girls have come home. Not all of them, of course. But, are there any stories like that of possible hope that some girls have been returned home in Pakistan?
So, random cases where, somehow they were paid off, the oppressor was paid off by the family or some saintly person who offered money. Those are the very few random cases. I know that I'm not going to take any names here, but I know that there have been Muslim, the good Muslim people of Pakistan who have also worked towards raising awareness about this issue. They have they've created documentaries. They have written, there is news bites on this as well. So it's not that generally people are turning their heads away. There is some help available. So some girls have been, or they just ran away from their oppressor, came back home, and then somehow magically or fortunately they were not taken away. But it doesn't happen in most cases.
It's rare. Okay, I'm going to open it up to our audience now. We have a question from Janice. Janice, did you want to unmute your microphone and ask the question or make your comment, or did you want me to just read it out?
No. Firstly, I want to talk. I want to thank Deepti for the crucial work she's doing for all those girls. Um Also, like that, you brought up the girls in Rotherham. So it's not really just like the one city. I mean, you have,
It's
like,
true.
I
Yeah.
personally know at least a dozen cities in the UK where it's the same. So it's not really about the numbers or the minority. You also brought up about a thing about the Islamophobia. That is also like a critical factor and why it's not talked about. So first time I came across this issue in context with Pakistan was, was through an American funded news channel. So they were doing this rare documentary on basically the targeted, grooming and rape of Hindu and Christian girls in Pakistan. So, I mean, they were very, I mean, the words are very struggling to criticize, Pakistan or Islam or anything. They were also going as far as to say that, like, the girls themselves choose it because, Hindus, like, internally, Hindus discriminate against each other, or because, Hindu husbands commit domestic violence. Like, that was as far uh, they're willing to go. So I was pretty shocked by that. Like, Yeah, so that is my experience with the issue. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Dennis. I think when we talk about some social issues within communities, that is their issues, right? They have their own responsibility to tackle those issues, whether it's what's happening to girls within families or something. Um, this is where we are seeing a concerted effort towards um, the weakest of the weakest, right? We are talking about little girls. You're doing something in a uh, combined effort as a community, as a group of individuals, grown-up men. How do you do that to little girls? That has nothing to do with I would say like the social reforms that particular community needs. It's not
Yes,
that.
yes, I get that. Yeah, I understand that. That is what I just wanted to point out. Like that is what is being used. Like even as a justification. In the few cases like this, these atrocities are like talked about in the media. Yeah, I do understand. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janice. Did anyone else have any questions or comments for Deepti? I'm going to read this comment here. It says, Pakistan has a very influential, deep-rooted lobby in the US, particularly in the Democratic Party. Since Obama, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say Pakistani Islamists pretty much puppeteer the Democratic Party. How do you feel about that comment, Deepti? Do you
So
agree?
this goes back to, I absolutely agree. This goes back to my comment earlier that we know that the government knows. I have heard this from horse's mouth that there have been people in the Obama administration who have talked about this issue, and I don't want to make it political. It might be both side of the politics, Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. Nobody's done anything. Nobody's doing anything. But at least we know that the government is aware, because one of the documents, one of the study came from the US government. So you are aware of this happening in a country. The last year, UK sanctioned Myanmar too, and US being part of that Five Eye, where you have those five countries working together. You know what is happening there as a part of that coalition, and not taking action, not making it actionable. Um, these studies don't mean anything.
Yeah, it's inexcusable. In these studies, was there not, usually in these studies, they have some sort of ideas on what we can do or what can be done to prevent this from continuing. Did they have any suggestions like that? And the government has just ignored it?
So the studies have come from within Pakistan. There is a body that does cover that. It's called all parliamentary it's all party parliamentary group of the Pakistani minorities. They came up with a study that was not actionable. There is a study done by BBC. There's a study done by US. So the action items are mentioned in that, but how do you make that accountable? Like, who's responsible for those action items?
Right,
We
right.
have not seen any actions taken place from the government themselves. You are sending our taxpayers' money to this country to help them out when they are
Mhm.
not helping out their minorities. So basically, if I'm paying taxes, I am funding a country to let these atrocities go on to my own people back in that local in those local areas.
Mhm.
How is that not questionable?
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, please go ahead.
Hi, Yasmin. Hi, Deepti. Wanted to say thank you for talking to us about this. I'm very emotional right now, so I apologize for that. I don't know how you do it. I have a comment and then I have a question. Because when Yasmin shared that blurb that she has, that I'm talking to Deepti, this is the day somebody started saying, there's no conversion in Islam, there's no slavery in Islam. And I'm sitting here so angry, like Yasmin can picture my face at that moment, like furiously responding. That's the fact of our lives. How can you just come say no? And then I found something about the Yazidi girls, 2,700 girls who are still missing and might never come back. Not even talking about the ones who were rescued or were raped. And I'm like, tell that to these people. And this person is like, but this is not the real Islam. Show me something from Quran. I'm like, I'm finding though, I have all those verses for you, and I'm highlighting. And no, that's not real. So I'm giving facts, and this person is just saying, no. These are your interpretation. That's not the real Islam. That's not real. That's not happening. Like, I'm taking time off on Friday, and I'm staying home, and I'm watching this as part of it because I need to be there, because I'm so mad and I don't know what else to do at this point. Like, we talk about it, you talk about it, you are here. These are real women, and their existence is denied. Their experiences are denied. And it is infuriating. I'm livid, and I'm thinking, I don't know what else to do. Just, I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to nod as much as possible because there's nothing else I can do at this point. Thank you for sharing this. For us, for people like me, for people like Yasmin, we have been traumatized by this religion firsthand. That's why we cannot give up. That's like, it's not, I don't think it's in my DNA to just sit there and be silent and polite and be very smile and rational about it. So this is our Islamic trauma. How do you find that calm in yourself? How do you fight back? How do you not just lose it on a daily basis? You're talking about this and you're so calm, and I'm like, I want to do that. I don't know how to do it. So I guess I'm looking for guidance. How do you keep your head on? How do you not explode on a daily basis in face of such atrocities?
Thank you so much for your empathy, Sarah. And that's exactly, I mean, every time I'm talking about this, I have a storm inside me. I have sleepless nights because of this issue. And I think that is what keeps me going. Every time I am, like, people can hear it in my voice. When I talk about it, people say that, we can hear you, your heart being broken by this. And I consider myself, like I said, I had a very strong upbringing. I'm a strong person. But this issue about girls, it's just not human. It's just not human, hearing about these stories on it. And I talk to these girls' families sometimes. I don't have words. Like, this girl, Chanda Maharaj, was taken away from her family, and they did not file an FIR for 3 months. And these are 3 sisters. I talk to her sisters, and they are saying, I tell them, why don't you get out? Like, we won't leave without her. We know that she's somewhere close by, and we won't go without her. And it's just, it's disturbing at every level. But I think that is what at the same time keeps me going, that we have to do something. We cannot fail as a person, as a community, as a society, to these girls.
Yeah, as a human being.
Thank you.
And
thank you for fighting back. Thank you for using your strength for this. I can only imagine how heartbreaking it is for you. How do normal people react? You said that the government knows. How do do they fight back? Do they tell you that your experience is not real? Do they tell you that you're being Islamophobic? Normal people, everyday people?
Thankfully, I have not gotten that pushback because this I'm not talking about Islam here, that which is
Mhm.
because it's institutionalized in Pakistan, that is an issue, right? Now, you talked about the Yazidis girls. Yasmin mentioned the Nigerian girls. We know about Coptic Christian girls. We know firsthand what happened on October 7th. I don't want to make it political, but what can you do to girls, to women, raping them, cutting their bellies, and plucking those children out from your mother's wombs? We saw that. And this is happening in a civilized country. We are talking about developing countries like Pakistan. I cannot even imagine what these, like, we have, if you go to our website, you can see videos. This mother, the girl is on top of the on top of the roof. She's yelling at the people down, like, please take me away. Her mother knows that the child is in that house. She cannot do it. How do you live?
I'm just going to make one last comment and then I'm going to mute myself. You said that you don't want to make it political. Unfortunately, I think it is political. Unfortunately, I know the pushback. This is something you're trying to fight at a legal level and at a government level. But unfortunately, I think that's the problem, that this is political, even in the West. They know and they don't do anything about it because for them it is political. And it breaks my heart that your girls are not the right kind of victims. My women are not the right kind of brown. They don't care, unfortunately, because it is political, it's politics. And I'm just going to stop here because I respect you for everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
You know, I agree with you entirely, Sarah. And, you know, if we keep on addressing these issues as geographically specific and thinking that that's the problem, you know, oh, it's Pakistanis in UK. Oh no, it's these in Pakistan. Oh no, it's in Nigeria. Are you noticing a trend here? Like, are you noticing it's in Iraq, it's in Israel, it's continuing, you know, until we have the bravery to address the core of the problem, we're only going to be dealing with the little symptoms. You know what I mean? So I'm 100% support your work, Deepti, and everything that you do. And I understand also wanting to not identify how this has religious roots, even though you know it's clerics that are supporting this. But I understand that you have to do that, but the reason why you have to do that is because of this term that was coined by Iran, Islamophobia. That is the reason why not only girls in Pakistan, but girls in the UK, girls in Israel, girls in Nigeria, girls in Iraq, girls all over the world are being sacrificed. They are being sacrificed because people do not have the courage to identify the common thread. Why does this keep on happening? What is allowing this? What is sanctioning this? And until people have the courage to identify the problem, there's no hope that you're going to solve it unless you can acknowledge it first.
Absolutely, Yasmin. And I think I would like, one of your questions was, how can people help? Just give me ideas. You know, we can do brainstorming sessions as to do. I think, and behind the scenes, we are working on a petition as well. And Yasmin, you are aware of that. So, you know, things like bringing out those resolutions, supporting those resolutions, getting those petitions to the UN, and getting the word out. I'm open for any ideas or any kind of help anybody wants to render to fight this.
In the chat, Elnaz is asking for the social media and website of your organization. So I know that you're going to be getting a lot of people that are interested in supporting you. Elnaz is also a woman who lived under the Islamic regime. And so she understands intimately, just like Sarah does, this topic that we're talking about. Sarah, you had your hand up? Oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
just
I
wanted,
just wanted to
but I'm
mention
not
that-
going to say anything else, but you said you're looking for answers. Answers are sitting in this room with you, Deepti. We all hurt from the same thing, and what Yasmine was talking about, that's the root of evil. And we would fight with you against this. Because it's this, like, there was a video coming out of Tehran, the capital of the Islamic regime in Iran. Yesterday, Valentine's Day, a woman was beaten savagely and thrown into a van. Gina was murdered in 2022. Armita was murdered last year. So we lose people. We are all dying separately, individually. And all I can do is here just tweeting angrily in English and trying to raise awareness. It is Islamo trauma. It is our trauma, and we all share that different ways, but we all share that. And you are silenced because of that Islamophobia, because of that threat. And we will fight with you. We will stand with you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate you.
So
Just
share with us,
to-
Deepti, the how we can help you.
So we have our website, chingari.org, CHINGARI.org. There is a volunteer option there. You can, put in your comments, notes, any ideas, thoughts that will come to us. And I have a Twitter handle with CHINGARI Project, so you can reach out to us. We have a Facebook account, and we are also on Instagram.
Great. And I will share all those things when I put this video, when I put this video up, I'll have all of those links. Well, thank you so much, Deepti. I know that it's been it's very emotionally draining to have these conversations, but they are vital. And I really want to tell you from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am that you do this work, because I know how difficult it is. You know, you could have chosen to do so many other jobs that aren't going to give you nightmares, you know what I mean? But you've chosen to do this, and I'm very grateful to you, because this is a very difficult job, but it's incredibly, incredibly important. So thank you so much, Deepti.
Thank you so much, Yasmine. I think in the process, I have connected with people like you and, now Sarah. And as we need to get through this, we need to get through this as, like I said, as a community. We cannot shy away or, turn our heads around. So I think this whole process makes us stronger, and I feel like God has a purpose for everyone. This is my purpose in life, and also He tests the people who are strong. I think we get tested more, and let's just keep going and hopefully make a difference somewhere.
Beautiful, beautiful last words. Thank you so much, Deepti. And thank you everyone for joining us here today. And we will definitely check out your website and do everything that we can to share the stories of these girls. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Deepti.
so much.
Take care, everyone.